The Data Protection Act. This act was created to ensure that personal information is handled properly by companies, and it stops the bad distribution of improper information, ensuring that companies are all to be registered with the Data Protection Act to follow strict guidelines. The Freedom of Information Act. This act gives the public access to any information that is being stored or kept by public services. This includes both central government and the local government. The Computer Misuse Act. This covers 3 offences that people use which can cause a breach of information security. For example, if you give someone your computer to fix, they're only allowed to fix that certain problem. So, and they're not allowed to go and browse your personal files or look throughout your computer and everything like that for anything else. They're only allowed to fix a certain thing that you've been given them to fix. So, copyright legislation. This is fairly straightforward. Individual or collective person who created the work, such as any artwork or piece of art, will own rights to it, and no one else can use it or anything like that. Now, the effect that the Data Protection Act has on the company if it's broken. If the company uses information from the internet that is not theirs, it could breach the Data Protection Act, meaning that the company would get in trouble and could face serious consequences such as fines in the millions of dollars if it's a well-known company, so e.g. Apple. Company gains bad image, so they'll lose clients, customers, everything like that for their bad doing. And the worst case scenario, the company could get sued and get shut down. The Freedom of Information Act and the effect that it has on the company is that this can affect the company because if this act is not complied with, then you can obviously breach the act and you could be punished. For instance, such as NASA, for an example, is that one of their astronauts was left on Mars, and they found out that he was still alive, and they had to release the information to the public, and they weren't allowed to keep it. So, if this is not complied with, hefty fines, but not as much though. People begin uprising due to information not being allowed or viewed, so there could be bad circumstances of that, and bad image on the government. The effect on the company for the Computer Misuse Act. The Computer Misuse Act would be broken if a company in competition attempts to impede the other companies to win the competition. So this will be breaking any security protocols. So if a company was to use another company's computer and misuse it to undermine their competition, this will be breaking the act. And the consequences will apply with big fines, bad images, and jail time on the employee who committed the offence. Copyright legislation. And the effect it has on the company. The act affects the company because if you have an advert running on television or a song playing on the radio, and you don't have permission by the person who created it, this could be the main consequences is companies being sued for a lot of money, like Warner Bros. So they're just examples of being sued. Bad images to the company and risk of shutdown, major risk of shutdown. The whistleblowing. Whistleblowing is a means of calling attention to wrongdoing that is occurring in the workplace or within an organization. A whistleblowing case that I found on the internet was Daniel Ellsberg. He was a former US military analyst employed by the Rand Corporation in 1971. He leaked He founded leaked top secret Pentagon studies during the Vietnam War, and these documents, known as the Pentagon Papers, were widely published by New York Times, Washington Post, and other new American newspapers. In one of the interviews, he said that the public is lied to every day by the government and the president and by spokespeople. So, and he's become a national activist, if you want to call it that. And he's been in many interviews and everything discussing his findings. The effects that it had on the company or government was that the Pentagon was exposed to the public about its plans when it was supposed to be confidential. This obviously caused public shock, lack of trust with the government, and civil uprisings in the streets. Ethical issues on company information. This is on. Okay, the company would lose clients if an employee leaves a banking corporate. This is if an employee doesn't leave the business and what needs to be done if no protocols are followed to ensure that the businesses make sure that information isn't taken. So, ethical issues. The company would lose clients. So, if an employee leaves a banking corporation with client details, he could give them to other banks or just random people for them to take their money. This will result in bad brand imaging for that bank. Customer complaints, clients will leave the bank, and yeah, the bank might get sued for leaking confidential information and personal details. Use of emails in the workplace. Businesses have very reasonable codes of conduct involving use of email and use of internet in an employee's workplace. Emails and employees must only use email services if it relates to work and not on social media and everything like that. So this is to ensure that employees are to keep their work going at a high standard, and they're sending personal emails that aren't relevant to their company will not be allowed, should not be allowed. Letting an employee use their company email can have bad effects on the company. This can happen if the employee decides he or she doesn't want to use it for the main purposes of emailing within the organization and decides to email outside the business and start giving details about clients and personal information, which is obviously very bad. The use of the internet in the workplace. Most companies also have a code of conduct where what are acceptable sites to be visiting when in appropriate timing and things to be doing on computer and work hours. Going onto social media sites and looking for tickets and bans and activities to do is not acceptable, and this would decrease work productivity and operational issues with security. Security at St. John's is highly important, if not the most important aspect of it, to protect parents and students' personal information. If St. John's cuts corners on this aspect, there will be serious consequences, such as the school can get sued for failure to secure personal client information, for example, bank details and everything that you used to pay school fees, and personal that you have willingly given to the school. Organizational procedures. These involve and consist of setting up firewalls for the first line of defense from hackers. This will cost money, a lot of it at times. Setting up special encrypted files for important data. This can be a need for important data that needs to be confidential. What will happen if they cut corners? St. John's cuts corners, they don't set up firewalls. The data is just asking to be hacked and taken away, and starting which result in the suing and shutdown of the schools for failure to uphold the Data Protection Act and for loss of confidential information. Backups have to be regularly maintained in the event of data loss. There must be a generator in the event of power cuts. Typical Zimbabwe. Dismissed staff have to, or fired or laid off staff, have to be monitored prior to the removal of any organization, so that the attempt to remove any data from the servers or anything like that can be stopped, and that's so that they don't leak any information to other schools or other sites of personal information. The costs of all of this happening. Costs always need to be considered when operating a school and with security details. For the protection of school, costs and expenses don't matter. It is a necessity to secure data, so it doesn't matter how much it costs or needs to be done. Regular paying of firewall subscriptions and antivirus software is a need. This needs to happen all times. Purchases of surge protectors in case of power surges, which can happen in this country most often. Health and safety. There are many health and safety regulations that have to be implemented in a civilized society. People work in server rooms with many live wires. There shouldn't be any water allowed in the server room for obvious reasons of electrocution and well-being. Server staff should be allowed breaks to relax their eye muscles to avoid straining them while working hours. This is why we have breaks in between lessons. Contingency planning or continued planning. If for some magical reason that they get through the firewall, then and all the encrypted data and plant viruses to steal information, which is the hackers, the school should have backups on external hard drives and external servers, all their files and data to make sure that they are secure and safe at all times, and that they are backed up. If this happens, if hackers get through and they hack the John's network, they might risk getting sued for loss of confidential information, and yeah, so as long as they still have the main data, everything's okay. These are the sources that I got my links from.